Hello and happy Friday. Welcome to STEM. Today is the day where you are going to finish, yes, finish and turn in your shark data assignment. So I am excited for all of you. So when you start class today, I know you should already be reading this assignment because that is the first thing you're expected to do. And I know it's a lot to read, so I want to walk you through a little bit of it. Please make sure that you start out working in your shark group because as a group you are going to work together to make sure that you turn in the assignment. Meaning that you're going to make sure that assignments 1, 2, and 3 have been completed and submitted, and all group members' names have been included. That helps me know who to give the grades to. That means that you have a bar graph, a scatter plot, a line graph, and a pie chart that has been completed with a data table, graph, and graph analysis. All of these data tables, graphs, and graph analyses should have been put in your final slides presentation. If you've not done that yet, please do so now. Once you've done that, there is one last reflection slide that needs to be completed on that slides presentation, and you want to make sure that you edit the whole presentation according to the rubric. If you can't figure out where the rubric is, don't worry, it's attached right here to your assignment, and so you can read that. Once you are confident that yes, you guys have been rock stars and you have A, quality work, please have one group member attach that slides presentation to this assignment and turn in this assignment with all the group members' names in the comments. This slides presentation is worth 45 points, so please check it against the rubric. Once you've done that, I would assume most of you are going to be able to do that pretty quickly, within 10 to 20 minutes of class. Therefore, the rest of the class, you're going to go back to your assigned seat and you are going to work independently. Yes, independently on something that hopefully you enjoy, because I heard many of you say that you wanted to be able to study other animals on that osearch.org website. So, your wish is my command. Today you get to do that. Choose whichever animal you would like to study, and we are going to go further with that. So now that you're back in your assigned seat, ready to work independently, this is the part of the assignment I really wanted to walk you through. So you are going to choose any animal from that osearch.org website. Once you do that, you are going to develop a testable question that you can gather data over. I know you're thinking, oh good, I haven't done enough testable questions lately. I was really hoping to do more. Don't worry, that's what's happening today. So there are so many different testable questions you can do. Some of them we already looked at with the great white sharks. For example, you could do, does gender and age of great white sharks affect their swim speed? That was one you could do for bonus. Well, now you can do it today to cover your requirements if you wanted. There's another one that says, are male or female great white sharks of the same age different in size? You might think we already did that one in our bar graph. However, we had data about all different ages, and it wasn't really equal amounts of data of male and female sharks. So most of us felt like we couldn't draw any solid conclusions. So if you were to ask this specific question, you could narrow your data down to make sure that you could answer this question with confidence. So, once you've decided your question, you're going to want to use the 3 lines on the right-hand side of the screen to filter your search to focus on only the animals that relate to your question. In other words, on the OSearch website, if I were here, I had determined that I wanted to do a question over sea turtles because I really like sea turtles. So I clicked on my filters and I said, all right, I want to focus on sea turtles. Well, notice they have 3 different species of turtles: olive ridley, loggerhead, and green sea turtles. Well, when I was playing around with it earlier, I realized they mostly only have data on adult females. So I decided I wanted to ask the question, does the species of sea turtle affect how far they swim? So therefore, I'm going to look at data from multiple species of sea turtles. I chose 3 sea turtles from each species to get my data from. So I chose that I wanted to have olive ridley turtles, and that they all needed to be adults, and they all needed to be females. When I said track, there were 16 turtles I could choose from, so I chose my favorite 3. I did the same thing for each of the species. So each time I came through and then I was like, okay, now I need 3 adult female loggerhead sea turtles, and then 3 adult female green sea turtles. Once I had done that, I was able to come up with a data table that looks like this. So as you can see, I took the time to make sure that I created my data table over these types of turtles. Please note some important things about the data table. Their name was included. The species of turtle was included, olive ridley, loggerhead, and green sea. The distance they swam was included, and I included in parentheses the units. So that means that they swam miles of distance. The number of days that it took them to swim those many miles is included. And then I had to do some math. The average distance they swam per day, which meant that I had to do miles divided by the number of days. So I did the math. I took each mile, 3,099, and divided it by 958 days. So I was able to figure out how far they were swimming per day. Now I'm ready to turn this into a graph. Now notice I put all this data in a table in Google Slides. There is an easier way where if I took this data table and put it into Google Sheets, I could transform it into a graph pretty easily, and I want to show you how to go about that. So I'm going to take my data table and I'm going to copy it. And then if I come to my Drive, I can ask for a new Google Sheets. I'm going to say create and share, which I love. So once I'm in my new Google Sheets, I can come in and just say Command V or Control V for you guys, and it would paste everything in. Notice everything went in there. My titles, my data, awesome. Now, the part that's really important for me to graph is how much they were swimming per day, right? So that's the part that would be really important. And so I want to make sure that the miles they swam per day is included in my graph. The other part that's really important is to note that their species, which species they were swimming that per day, because I want to know, does the species affect how far they swam? Because I was really good and I only included numbers in my data, I can turn this data into a graph with a couple clicks of a button. So I'm going to hold my Command key and highlight the first column, the second column, and the last column, because that's the data I want to show up in my graph. Then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click on the one that looks like a graph and say Insert Chart. Now Google thinks it's really smart and it made a chart for me. And it is pretty smart because actually it did a tremendous job. It tells me which species I'm looking at of the turtle, it tells me the names of that turtle, and it tells me how far they swam on average per day. Now there are some things though that can be added. For example, I don't have a title to my graph, and we know that's essential, and I don't have X and Y axis labels, and if I don't have those, I'm going to lose points. So, some pretty important things that I need to know. And so, if I want to do that, I have to come over here to add that information. So if I come here and I click Customize, then I can go to Chart and Axis Title, and I can give it a chart title, where it says Speed Between Turtle Species. I can even give it a chart subtitle, and I can give those turtle species olive ridley, loggerhead, and green, because those are all the three species that I'm looking at. Then if I come back up here, I can say my horizontal axis title, which is my x-axis, and I will say this is my turtles that I studied, okay? So the turtles that were studied. And I'm also going to say adult females, because they were all adult females, and I think that's important data to include. Then I'll say my vertical axis title, and I'm going to say average distance swam each day. And then in parentheses, I'm going to say miles, because everybody needs to know I'm talking about miles here. As soon as I have that, now everything that I need that is required of my graph is in here. Can I get creative and change other things? Definitely. I could change the color of my bars. I could add other details. But I have all the requirements and it's an easy graph to read. So ta-da! I've succeeded on collecting my data and making my graph. The last part that is your challenge for today is putting all of this with the background of a turtle there. So I would love if you create your graph by hand. Then you can create a construction paper turtle and put your graph and your data table on there. Or if you create it digitally, you can create a Google drawing with a background of a turtle, and then you can input your graph and your data table on there. Those are both options. The last thing that you need is your graph analysis. I know when I look at my graph analysis, right away I see a couple important things. I've learned that loggerhead turtles look like they swim further than green sea turtles or olive ridley turtles. It also looks like that Junonia is an outlier of my loggerhead turtles. She's kind of lazy. She didn't swim nearly as far as Thalia and Thetis. Olivia swam the least out of all of my turtles, but on average, it looks like the olive ridley tend to swim less than any of the other sea turtles. So those are the things I would put in my data analysis. I hope that this video helps you understand what it is that you're supposed to do on your individual task. Please email me if you have any questions, and good luck.